All right, construction champions. It's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another episode of Construction Champions Podcast, where we're continuing to burn the house down and rebuild it. An entire different way of thinking within your business and within your life. I'm fired up. As always, we have an amazing guest with us, Khalil. It is fantastic to have you here today.
Man, thank you so much for having me on, Ron. What an introduction.
Hey, we got to be excited about what we're doing because we're generating change. All the champions out there are change makers within the industry, and that's what you do. You've been a business consultant for a long time. You've helped probably thousands of businesses at this point in time with their marketing, their sales, technology. And, it excites me to have you on here. But what are you most excited about right now that's happening in your life and business?
Man, I'm just excited. I need to wake up with you every day, Ron. This is great. I love the energy. No, thank you so much. It's true. We are all changers in our industry, and we are impacting thousands of people, whether we think it or not. Whenever you build something, whenever you reach an employee's life, you're reaching everybody in their network and so on. So it's important for us to start with ourselves, right? Man, what excites me? It excites me to work with people like you that just care and want to make change. They want to shift gears and really get things running. It's always fun for me to work with people that are doing things that are exciting and that believe in what they do. And there's so many great people in our industry that are construction champions and that do a great job of making an impact in their local community, but even at large. So that's what excites me, working with people that I enjoy working with and that can inspire me.
That's awesome, man. And they're all there's so many champions. I am thankful that I get to hang out with a lot of them, just like I get to hang out with you today. And a lot of our listeners, I get to interact with people. And it's just amazing what's happening out there. And the industry, the future is so bright. And it's amazing. So let's dive in here and have a fantastic conversation today.
Let's do it.
I'm going to ask the $1 million question, which is, what makes a construction champion?
Great question. I love that you start with this. For me, and it's more personal to what I do, but I think it's to improve the lives of the leaders in our industry. And really that's by helping them find less stress, more time, and more money. I think that is what allows us to be exceptional at what we do and to really make an impact in the world.
More time and more money.
And less stress. Less stress is key there. You can't forget that one. Less stress, more time, more money. That's actually the slogan of our podcast, the Cashflow Contractor. But it's truly, it's dear to my heart. There's so many people out there that are running their business and they're stressed out. They're at their last moment. They can't handle anymore. And a lot of it's because they don't have any time. They're missing out on time with their family. They're missing out on what really matters to them because they've gotten in over their head. And a lot of that has to do with money as well, that they're losing money on jobs and they don't know why. They can't figure it out. And they really just need to lean on others in the industry to figure it out and to improve their life. And when they can improve their business, they improve their employees' lives and their customers' lives. And it all is just a big cycle.
Also, I love that you brought that back to that stress, because stress is something that impacts everybody. But when you're running not just a business, you're running a construction business, there's a lot of different stresses that's involved in that can, like you said, money, time, that kind of stuff comes in there. But I mean, just running a business is stressful.
It's so hard, man. I think, someone once told me that business is harder than brain surgery. If you're a brain surgeon, you go to school, you get your degree, then you go to medical school, then you do your fellowship, and you focus on doing the same surgery, same procedure, maybe 2 or 3 procedures, and you do those same procedures for the rest of your life. And when you go to business, you starting your business from scratch, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. And ignorance is bliss at a certain point, because I think if you did know, you probably wouldn't start your company. But you get started and all of a sudden you've got to understand HR and payroll, and you've got to understand technology. and how to create a sales process and how to do performance reviews and how to make a proposal and how to design a website and all these different things that you could go and get, dozens of degrees in college for. But no, you don't. You just start a business and you start making money and you start learning these things the hard way, right?
Yeah, you're just kind of jump right in there. Especially in the construction industry, we find, a lot of guys are guys that came from the industry that
Oh,
felt
yeah.
they could do it better, or just wanted to be on their own, wanted to control their daily activities and have no business background. But we're builders. I always say one of the things why guys are successful in the construction industry, pretty much no matter what, it's because we're just naturally builders. Like, we just fix things. We understand there's going to be problems. We have that tenacity to just work through that, but there's easier ways to do it. And that's what you help with. You help with those easier ways.
Yeah, some of them, not all of them. So, I mean, I don't want to get over my head myself, right? But yeah, I think, just like you said, so many people are starting their companies because they feel like they can do it better. And I've heard so many stories of guys that start companies because they see how much they're charging the customers at the job they work on. And they're like, man, I can go and do that myself and take home the profit. What they don't realize is that they've got all these additional expenses. They sell the job for this amount. That's, lowballing the guy that they used to work for, but now they've got to worry about workers' comp and insurance and software fees and rent and all the other things that come along with running a business. And so that's where they start to get stressed out and lose money, is because they don't realize everything that comes into it.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit, because
For sure.
what happens in the construction industry doesn't happen in a lot of other industries, where guys go out and say, I can do this cheaper, I can do this better, I can make all the money. And it's not that it's an irrational decision, but like you said, there is a checklist of stuff that comes into play when you're running a business. Why do you think we see that, like, in the construction industry more than we see it anywhere else?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it is, again, like ignorance is bliss. I don't think we teach enough just in general through our schools about what it is like to run a construction company and how to manage your costs, how to build in a good gross profit, but then understanding overhead costs at the same time. I think also we get so focused in on that revenue number, like what is our sales? We'll even brag about our sales, but we don't even think about what the net profit is. Because for, an average, I think the national average for any business, not just construction, net profits at 7%. So if you do $1 million in sales, well, you're netting 70,000. And for a lot of companies, they're not even putting themselves on the payroll. So that 70,000 is their salary as $1 million company. And so I think a lot of it comes down to education and just understanding it from a much higher level, that it's not just about sales, but it's about so much more. And then again, if you think about it inside of your company, you're going to be running a better company if you've educated your sales team and your project managers and your employees on what it actually takes to run their company. And I think if you did that for your team internally, you'd probably have less people leave to try to start their own thing, because they'd understand, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of infrastructure here that I don't know that I could do that. And you're also going to be helping them avoid the stress of doing that by themselves. But then if they do decide to go out on their own, as an employer, as a leader in the industry, that you've set someone up for success. They've decided to go on their own, and they're not going to make the mistakes that could cost them a relationship with their child or their marriage, because you've set them up for success and understanding everything that goes into running a profitable business.
Amen. What you said right there is what is the untold truth of this. And that, as an industry, we hide from. We want to be so secretive. We all think we have this secret sauce and we don't want to talk about it. But the way to keep people around is to let them understand it and let them know, like, this is the stuff. I agree 100% with what you said. You're going to have less people go out to try to do this on their own when you start to let them understand what goes into running a business and what this looks like. But the industry looks at it as, oh, all we're doing is teaching our competition now.
Yeah.
And I think that's bullshit. Like that's
I
not
think
how
it is
that's.
too, man. I think it is too. I think ultimately your secret sauce is your execution. It's not, yeah, maybe your processes are unique and all this stuff, but the reality is it's your execution that is your secret sauce. If knowledge were all that it took to be successful, we would all be skinny, rich, and happy. And that's not the case. You need to execute on the knowledge that you have. And just because someone understands how your process works or how to bid a job properly or whatever it is, does not mean that they're going to go and be able to do it better than you can.
Yeah, I think execution with people is what, like that's not, it's not a secret. Like it really isn't. Like we do this podcast, you do a podcast. There's lots of guys out there, and what do they all get on here? Like the most successful people, billionaires get on, and they say like there is no secret sauce. I just made it happen, and I was transparent about what we were doing, and it happened. We got the right people around that wanted to be involved, and by doing that and teaching them, it helps them buy into your vision. Because you yourself, I love, like, you are the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Anybody that's ever been to any top line revenue numbers, it was because that leader was willing to be the secret sauce that brought that operation together, that took it to where it needed to go because they laid out the vision. They made a clear path and they let people execute on it without fears of what could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think also as you start to show your employees the nuts and bolts of your business and get them involved in the decision-making processes and understanding how we win in our business and show them that profit is what matters, not sales, you're not only helping your employees feel valued by showing them so much in your company and feeling like they're bought in and they're a part of it, but if you're doing that properly and everyone's aligned, you're going to be able to hire much better from within. You're going to see much more growth and success. You're definitely going to be differentiated from your competitors because they're not doing that. And then whenever you decide to open up a new location or add a new service or whatever it might be, as far as growth, what that next step is in your business, you've got someone that you can lean on, that you've watched, you've groomed, and you know they're ready for the job. And now you've raised their ceiling without them having to go and do it on their own. Create a new role for them inside of your business where they can step up and feel like they're doing meaningful, challenging work. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want in our lives. We want to do something that's significant, and we want to not feel like we're just doing the same thing over and over and over without making progress. So if we can find a meaningful and challenging job, then, and we need to be compensated well, that is important. But the more meaningful and more challenging work that we do, the more compensation we typically get.
Yeah, in creating that path for people, I mean, that's a secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not a secret, but understanding, like creating these paths for employees to be able to work through the company and grow is a differentiator. Like you said, that's your competition's not doing that. If you're doing that, your customers at the end of the day are going to get a better customer experience from your staff.
Yeah, absolutely. But none of that's possible at the end of the day if you're not focused on profit. You can't sit there and run a values-based organization that's going to be thriving and growing and leading people into the next steps of their career if you're not profitable and winning on jobs. And that's really where it starts. We can talk about all this glamorous stuff about the best businesses that are so organized and values-driven, but if we don't make a profit at the end of the day, that business isn't going to last.
Absolutely. And that was the next place I was going to take this conversation. So you're right. You're right on point here, because you brought it up a couple of times, is that as an industry, we can really focus on top line numbers. I know I'm guilty of this. I'm sure a lot of all listeners are. But what really matters is what's the profit? Like, you can be very profitable in the construction industry. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but I think there is kind of a netic of perception when we start talking profits within the construction industry, and I don't quite understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're seeing profit as something negative, one of my co-hosts actually for the Cashflow Contractor podcast talks about this a lot, but you probably have a poor understanding of the purpose of business. And there are so many subjective purposes out there. You can be running your business because you want to provide for your family, or because you want to change the world, or because you want to create jobs in your community. That's your subjective reason. And nobody can tell you that that's the wrong subjective reason. But there's only one objective purpose of business, and that's to create cash and turn cash into more cash. And if you're not doing that as a business, if you will fail the mission and you will not be around for much longer. And so if you're focused on that top line and you don't even think about the bottom line at the end of the day, you're just trying to get through each month's payments and let it reset whenever the payments start, the new bills start coming in, then you're going to fail at some point. You have to focus on turning cash into more cash.
Yeah. And I think the sooner you can do that, the better. I watch a lot of guys chase that $1 million a year in revenue. Like, that's a hot item right now. It's something a lot of people are like, getting to $1 million in revenue. And when they get there, what I read, what they post, the stuff that's out there is, I made less than I made at 500,000 when I hit $1 million.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like this light bulb goes off in their head because they're not focusing on what we're talking about here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is mostly the case with $1 million companies. I mean, in my opinion, you can do much better work and feel much better about what you do when you're at that $500,000 mark. And obviously it depends on what services you're offering as a contractor, but it's a lot easier to manage your expenses, manage your people, if you even have people, your subs, when you're at that 500,000 than when you're at the $1 million. And when you're at that $1 million, you've done a good job getting some revenue, but you've now created something that needs a little bit more maintenance, and you may not actually have the funds to staff the people that can maintain that business. And so from through all of the contractors that I've spoken with, they always say that 1 to 1.5 million was the hardest stage of their business ever. It's not until they were able to get to that 2, and when they were at that 500 or 600, that they were very happy in their business and excited. And then they got to that $1 million, $1.5 million, like, what the world is going on? I can't handle all of this.
So how do you help guys focus on creating that profit and creating an environment where they're growing, but they're not sacrificing the business for growth?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a business consultant for contractors, there's really 3 areas that I focus on. Those are marketing, sales, and technology. Starting with the marketing piece, I think a lot of contractors are losing money and they get stressed out because they don't choose their customers well. You know, if you're accepting work from anyone, you probably aren't rich, you're not relaxed, and you're definitely not in control of your time because you're just taking whatever comes at you. And I think what contractors need to understand about marketing is that marketing is all about understanding your customers. Customers are having a conversation in their mind every day. And we are, all of us. We're thinking about our goals, our challenges, our frustrations, our needs, our desires. And marketing is about understanding your customer enough to join the conversation they're having in their head so that you really understand them deeply and you can speak their language. And when you can speak their language, then you can start to address those needs, address those desires with a solution, which is your product or service. So, whenever we help contractors with marketing, we're really helping them understand their target audience, understanding how they can reach that target audience, what channels, if that's going to be through social media or their website or through Google Ads or pay-per-lead services or, podcasts or YouTube videos or even just door-to-door sales. What's the best channel for them? And what's the best approach we can have for what we're offering? We even talk about pricing inside of that. We talk about structure of their, the project timeline, and all those different things come into the marketing conversation, which really leads into sales. We've tried to align marketing and sales as much as possible. A lot of people see those as 2 separate things, but whenever you marry those 2 as one process, there's a lot more ownership throughout. The sales team is much better aligned with what their customers actually want rather than just selling a service. But it's with sales, again, what we help with is helping contractors not get caught up with chasing sales rather than profit. We want to understand from a sales perspective, what is the profitable work that we do and how can we bid projects that are actually going to help us win and not just get us to close the deal, but actually help us win. And that's a huge problem that we see. But we help them hone their sales process from start to finish, the bidding process, and then we help them track those things in real time. We talk about bookkeeping on our podcast a lot and how valuable that is for making business decisions. But the reason why we do a lot of the technology piece is because with bookkeeping, you're looking at historical data and you're not really looking at current accurate data that frequently of the day-to-day real-time metrics. And that's what technology allows us to do. I know you know quite a bit about technology, Ron, with your software, but with technology, you're able to understand what's happening in real time in your business if you're using it well and it's set up to work properly inside of your business. And so we help set that stuff up. We call it a tech stack. It's a very popular term around there. But if you're not familiar with what a technology stack is, it's just the suite of softwares that you use to run your business. That can be your email account, that can be your customer relationship manager, your billing software, your bookkeeping software, your project management software, your hiring software, any softwares you use, all combined to make your tech stack, your tech toolbox, if you will. And so we help contractors build that tech stack and understand how they can all work together in one place so that they are integrated, they work seamlessly together, and give them real data to help them make better decisions day to day in their business.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want to dive into that a little bit because we have a lot of conversations on here about bookkeeping and that software. And I've been in that word where you're looking at bookkeeping report and you're making decisions based off of stuff that it's too late to be making decisions. And that's why having the appropriate software that can give you real-time like it can be life or death. When you're looking, say you look at your financials every 30 days, and some guys do it quarterly, how much money could you lose in that time? Like you're not able to make the right decisions. It's why it's important to have something that shows you exactly what's happening and then understand how to utilize it so those numbers are real. So in real time, it's like driving a car. You can't drive a car without real-time data. You can't just use a map from 20 years ago and expect to still be able to make the right educated decisions. And I love that you help guys with that, because I think that's a critical aspect that's overlooked a lot of times about understanding that software can help us make decisions every day.
Yeah, every day. I think the real time really matters, especially in construction, because time is of the essence. I think the number one reason why contractors will lose profit on a job is because the job will go over schedule. It'll not stick to the schedule, or the schedule that they're using is not a good one. They're not doing it fast enough. Because as soon as your overhead flips over on the next month and you start owing more bills and another week of labor and all those things, that's eating at your profit. And so you need something that's going to be able to tell you how much you're losing every single day by delaying this job. But also whenever you don't have that schedule down and you're paying overtime to guys, that's also eating into your profit. And so it's either that you didn't bid properly because you estimated the wrong amount of days, so that now we're paying overtime on every single job, or it's going a week, 2 weeks beyond what it should have and delaying every other job. But either way, you're not bidding correctly, or you're not tracking it and taking it seriously. But that is the most important thing that you need to know in real time is, when are we going to finish this job, and let's stick to it.
Yeah. And I think like that's something that can be overlooked. And it's amazing. Like I said, I love that you're helping guys with that, because that is a critical thing that has to happen, because you can do the marketing and the sales and get to that profit and do all of that. But if you don't have a way to understand it every day, what's happening in your business, it can go south fast. And a lot of times those monthly and quarterly reports, it's just too late. And then so you're just bleeding, and you got to figure out how to not just fix it, but correct it and survive. And there's ways around that.
There is. And I think for a majority of contractors that are out there, you mentioned that 1 million mark is a big number that people are chasing. If that's your size and everything's in your head, it might work at that $500,000 revenue amount. You might be able to keep it all in your head and actually do a fantastic job with it. But if you think about it, what you've done is you've effectively created a job for yourself, not a business. A business is truly something that will be able to be profitable without you. And if everything is in your head, you can't remove yourself from that business. And you feel that. That's the stress. I go on vacation, everything hits the fan, right? If I get sick, I don't feel like I can take a day off. That's the stress that you feel. And by working on your systems inside of your sales, inside of your technology, even in your marketing, and choosing the right customers that you know you can do really great work for and win on the job, then that's what's going to create that business that runs without you. That's what's going to alleviate your stress. And that's what's going to allow other people to be trained and be able to do the work rather than you doing everything in your head.
Awesome, man. That's right on the point. You gotta make sure you're developing systems that you're not the only one that can do, or when it's in your brain, no one else knows. And that's not scalable to any kind of profit. So man,
absolutely.
It has been fantastic talking today. You
are
a man of some knowledge. You brought the fire today. I love it. And for all the construction champions out there, if they wanted to reach out to you or follow you or absorb your content, where do they go do that?
Absolutely. A couple things. You can find me at benali.com, benali.com. I'm sure that will be in the show notes. That's our website. The primary core offering that we give to people is a growth foundation. It's just getting them started with the technology they need, the marketing they need, and the sales process they need to be effective online and to stay organized in those areas. Then you can also find myself and Martin Holland, my co-host on the Cashflow Contractor. You can find that on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, YouTube. But then our website is thecashflowcontractor.com. We talk about topics in depth. We do details about how to bid jobs properly, how to read financial statements, how to set up a website that can convert. We just go deep into the details of so many different topics that matter to construction owners. So yeah, that's us.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. Take care.
All right, construction champions, another fantastic episode where we talked about being cash flow positive. What does that look like? Because in order to be a champion, you have to have the cash flow. Because if you don't have that, your business will just eventually go away. I know it can be a sad thing to think about, and people get weird when we talk about money, but the fact of the matter is to create any kind of lifestyle or anything that you want, or to have the impact at your church or with a charity or whatever is your driving force, it comes down to you being able to make your business successful in creating a profit from it, putting the systems in place. There's a lot of amazing stuff in this episode. I highly recommend going back and listening to it again, and then going and checking out the Cashflow podcast. What was it again there? I lost the name.
The Cashflow Contractor.
Cashflow Contractor, and dive into it. This is knowledge that we have to have in order to continue to build our businesses on a solid foundation that allows us to win multiple championships. We don't want this to be a one and done deal. We want to build a legacy here. So, construction champions, make sure you go to constructionchampionspodcast.com. Check out our sponsors, our partners, and all the people that keep making this happen. Go check out our free mastermind Facebook group on Facebook, where we're connecting guests, hosts, and anybody that wants to come in and have a conversation about being a champion in the construction industry. This is how we're doing it. We're doing amazing things together. So champions,